Assembly for Calgary, Egmont. After question period today, the House will be dealing with government bills and orders. Second reading stage for Bill 11, the Apprenticeship and Industry Training Act. Bill 25, Pacific Western Airlines Amendment Act. Bill 28, Hail and Crop Insurance Amendment Act. Bill 30, the Securities Amendment Act. And a number of bills are at the Committee of the Whole stage. This evening, when the House reconvenes at 8 o'clock, in estimates tonight, the Department of Municipal Affairs will be up for discussion. Let us pray. O Lord, we give thanks as legislators for the rich diversity of our history. We welcome the many challenges of the present. We dedicate ourselves to both the present and the future as we join in the service of Alberta and Canada. Amen.
Introduction of visitors. Presenting petitions. Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to give oral notice of motion under Standing Order 40 that at the end of question period today I wish to seek unanimous consent of the Assembly in order to deal with the following motion. That the Legislative Assembly of Alberta recognize and extend its heartiest congratulations to the Calgary North Stars for winning the National Midget Hockey Championships in Calgary, April 28th.
Introduction of bills.
Minister of the Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill number 32, Special Waste Management Corporation Amendment Act 1991. This being a money bill, Mr. Speaker, His Honor, the Lieutenant Governor, having been informed of the contents of this bill, recommends the same to the Assembly. Mr. Speaker, the purpose of this bill is to enable the corporation to carry out its duties relative to the management of special waste in the province of Alberta, specifically programs that deal with household hazardous waste and pesticide container recycling. It also transfers certain responsibilities from the Hazardous Chemicals Act to the Special Waste Management Corporation Act dealing with hazardous waste.
Minister of the Environment has moved first reading to Bill 32, Special Waste Management Corporation Amendment Act 1991. Those in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 32, Special Waste Management Corporation Amendment Act 1991, introduced by the Honorable Mr. Klein, is now read a first time. Tabling returns and reports.
Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Speaker, today I would like to table for honorable members a new environmental education program entitled A Traveler's Guide to Spaceship Earth. Now, this is part of a continuing series of poster programs designed to ensure our children learn and appreciate our precious air, land, and water. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to file with the Legislative Library the 1990 reference index to Alberta lakes and reservoirs, the 1991 inventory of dams, which is an excellent report on evaporation of water systems in Alberta, and the addendum to that report. Thank you.
Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife.
Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to file with the Assembly the 1989-90 annual report of the Prairie Conservation Coordinating Committee.
Introduction of special guests.
Minister of Economic Development and Trade, followed by Redwater Andrew.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure, sir, to introduce two groups to the Legislative Assembly today, and let me begin by introducing a group of 10 from the Alberta Bosco Home School. They're joined by Mr. Dave Dixon and teacher assistants Ms. Joanne Janelle and Mr. Gord Robinson. They're in the public gallery, and I would ask if they would stand so that we could extend to them a very warm welcome of the Legislative Assembly. Mr. Speaker, I also have another guest in the members gallery, an individual who's made an outstanding contribution to the province of Alberta. I would ask that Mr. Herb Belcourt rise and receive the very warm welcome of this Legislative Assembly.
Redwater Andrew, followed by Smoky Lake River.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure today to introduce to you and to the Assembly a group of 24 senior citizens from the town of Bruderheim and people that helped build this great province. Mr. Speaker, they are seated in the members' gallery, and I'd ask they rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Smoky River.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure to introduce Lucille Partington. Lucille is an educator, a counselor in the town of Sexsmith, but also a member of the Grand Prairie Hospital Board, very active in all activities throughout the Peace River country. Lucille is in the public gallery. Now I'll ask Lucille to rise and receive the warm welcome of the House.
Banff Cochrane.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased today to introduce to you and through you to members of the Assembly 30 students from the Revelstoke Secondary School in Revelstoke, British Columbia, just slightly west of the beautiful constituency of Banff Cochrane. They are accompanied by their teachers, Mr. Kirk Wasmer, Mrs. Colleen Wasmer, as well as Mr. Bob Ely and Mrs. Joan Ely. They are seated in the public gallery, Mr. Speaker, and I would ask that they rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Edmonton Highlands.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure to introduce 34 people visiting us from Ontario today. They're mainly students from Norwood, Ontario, and they're on an exchange program with East Glen School, located in the riding of Edmonton Highlands. They're accompanied today by Mr. Robert Simmons, Ms. Audrey Gibson, and Mrs. Simmons. They're seated in the members' gallery, and I'd ask them to rise and receive the welcome of the Alberta Assembly.
Ministerial statements. Oral question period.
Mr. Speaker, to Minister of Economic Development and Trade. Mr. Speaker, last Friday we pointed out the unjustifiable sort of you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours practice of this government mixing Conservative Party business with government activities. I might add, usually it's done behind closed doors. But Mr. Speaker, we see another example of the government's kickback approach to governing. We see that a large number of companies who receive millions of dollars in government loans and guarantees just happen to contribute bucks to the Conservative Party, Mr. Speaker. My question to the minister is, how does he justify this kickback policy, or was it just a coincidence?
Come on, get out of the gutter.
Mr. Speaker, there is no kickback policy. The individual who did the research within the media, I also suggested that they look at funds that were contributed to the NDP party and to the Liberal Party, because there is no correlation to this whatsoever. I'll repeat for the honourable member, as I have done on many occasions, that as it relates to the export loan guarantee program, firstly, the banks have to do a due diligence. Once the banks have done that and have collected their financial data, then we involve ourselves. But let me indicate to the honourable member that we've gone through a three-phase process as it relates to the diversification of this great province of ours. In the 70s, we had a considerable amount of oil revenue whereby we could involve ourselves in the financing of the diversity of this province. Through the 80s, Mr. Speaker, we went through a totally different period of time whereby we had to involve ourselves with loan guarantees because we lacked the financial flexibility, plus we wanted to make sure that this province was diversified. Now we're seeing the fruits of our involvement whereby we have the strongest economy in all of Canada, and we're delighted that we have those fruits. But we're not going to stop there. We're suggesting that we look toward the future. That's why in the speech from the throne we indicated we are going to have a conference on the economy this fall. We're also asking for all Albertans to offer us their input as to the direction they would like to see us go.
Mr. Speaker, yes, I guess it was just a coincidence after all, wasn't it, Mr. Speaker? Three-phase program, hand out thousands, then millions, then hundreds of millions in corporate welfare. That's what the three-phase program was, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to get to the secrecy. The minister keeps talking about commercial confidentiality. Mr. Speaker, over the weekend we have the ex-deputy premier, Mr. Horner. In fact, some of the recipients of the program saying publicly that this is unnecessary. We don't need this secrecy, Mr. Speaker. So my question is to the minister is this. Isn't it true that the reason that the government keeps these loan guarantees secret is simply to protect the government from political embarrassment, Mr. Speaker?
No, Mr. Speaker. Again, the leader of the New Democratic Party is wrong, which he consistently is within this Legislative Assembly, because there is a commercial confidentiality. I also indicated last week that I think we have come to a point whereby we have to examine as to whether there will be public disclosure, notwithstanding the fact that there is a commercial confidentiality involved, because in the event, and the standing orders themselves indicate that so, in the event that there is a possibility of a violation whereby it could hurt the competitiveness of an individual company, we have an obligation. I indicated to the honourable member what we saw in Ontario within the New Democratic Party whereby a member of that cabinet broke a confidential relationship. Because of that, she lost her job. I say that we have obligations. Unlike the honourable member opposite, he has no obligations, no responsibilities. We happen to have on this side.
Mr. Speaker, that minister had at least the decency to resign. What about this minister who did the same thing in this government, Mr. Speaker? You want to bring that up. But, Mr. Speaker, let's talk about competitiveness, because the Alberta business community is contradicting the minister all over the place. But they are also, many of the people that are contacting us are angry at the way this government hands out money behind closed doors to his friends and favorites, Mr. Speaker, who hand out money to them. The very people these same people must compete with. My question simply to the minister is this. How does the minister respond to the legitimate concerns of Alberta's business community that this government harms their companies by secretly handing out money to their competitors?
Mr. Speaker, I'm going to address the honourable member's question, but prior to doing so, it should be put on the record that there is no secrecy as it relates to our involvement. There is a commercial confidentiality of which we're bound. As it relates to the business's concerns, that's the reason for our conference on the economy, whereby we want to have input from the business community. I indicated the phases we went through. There has been concern raised as it relates to our loan guarantees. That's why we're asking the Alberta population and the business community to give us their insights as to what direction they would like to see us to go in the future. We welcome their input. We welcome their input and we welcome their direction, and that's why we're asking for it.
Second main question, Leader of the Opposition.
You've already lost $1 billion. You should have had a conference before, Mr. Speaker. But my second question is to the Associate Minister of Social Services responsible for seniors, Mr. Speaker. And I want to move from, once again, from the hundreds of millions of dollars this government has lent to failing companies to the clawbacks that this government is forcing on the seniors of our province. Mr. Speaker, on Wednesday, Alberta seniors are going to face the first round of this government's assault on their pocketbooks. On this day, seniors will have benefits cut for eyeglasses, dentures, and over-the-counter prescription medicines. But, Mr. Speaker, the document that the minister and I have talked about before that we had to have leaked to us, Mr. Speaker, they talk about even more cuts to Alberta's pensioners, cuts totaling a whopping $113 million.
Oh.
And I want, Mr. Speaker, to ask the Minister a question about one of them that was talked about in that paper, the elimination of the $1,000 annual property tax rebate for many pensioners who live in their own homes. My question to the Minister is simply this. Will the Minister tell Alberta seniors why his government is considering elimination of this program that will result in many seniors, frankly, finding it difficult to stay in their own homes? Why are they even considering it?
Nuts.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I find it strange that someone can talk so verbally about a program and a discussion at which he wasn't even at. But we did discuss various programs with seniors because we're committed in this province to provide the best coverage of seniors programs anywhere in Canada. We're doing that now, and we'll continue to do that. The document that he keeps referring to was just one of many documents that we use to bring together all pertinent aspects of running a $1.2 billion operation. And it would be irresponsible if we didn't give consideration to all aspects of this program. It also says in the document, if you'll read it, that there is no intention of implementing any of that document. That's in there too.
Mr. Speaker, the reality was this document was in the cabinet behind closed doors, and all of a sudden parts of it were in the budget last time with no consultation at all, Mr. Speaker. So hand me that, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, this particular paper, and it's in black and white here, talks about cutting the seniors' renters' grants, health care premium help for 107,000 seniors, and Blue Cross premium help also, Mr. Speaker, and they frankly didn't want the seniors to know. But my question again to the Minister is this: does the Minister not understand, and they were considering it, Mr. Speaker, not understand that cutting these vital programs for seniors will hurt them dramatically, and that if implemented will drive many seniors out of their own homes and into more expensive institutional care?
Mr. Speaker, I'd remind the member that all of those programs he mentioned were not cut and have not been cut, and there is no intention at this time to do so.
That's pretty scary. No intention at this time to do so. Let me move then over to the Premier, Mr. Speaker. After that answer, will the Premier now give his commitment right now to seniors that his government will not impose any more of these harmful measures either now or in the years to come, Mr. Speaker?
Right on.
The commitment I'm very proud to give, Mr. Speaker, is we'll constantly assess our seniors programs to make sure they're the best in Canada, as they are.
Edmonton Glengarry. Edmonton Glengarry.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sure that every MLA in this Assembly has received either a telephone call or a letter from some senior complaining about the fact that the government is attempting to balance its budget on their backs. They're not happy. They're angry. Mr. Speaker, the Aids to Daily Living program has had cutbacks to that program. People, senior citizens who require oxygen, may well have to pay up to $500 a year. What's even more disturbing, Mr. Speaker, is that the Ministry of Health is looking at imposing even harsher tests on these users of oxygen. My questions to the Minister of Health are these. Given that the government is imposing more fees on seniors, and given that the health care system now requires a doctor, a home care nurse, and they impose an internationally accepted test to determine eligibility for these oxygen users, why, Mr. Speaker, is the minister imposing an even harsher test, a harsher test on people who need oxygen to live on?
Mr. Speaker, first of all, let's make it absolutely clear that the oxygen benefits are essentially still the same under the newly expanded Aids to Daily Living program, with the exception of home ventilators being added on to that program, because of course they were only available before for polio patients. The testing with respect to who gets oxygen is medically tested. We are certainly asking all Albertans to share in the cost of home oxygen therapy, which costs the provincial government about $4,000 to up to $10,000 per client per year. We believe asking Albertans to pay for $500 of that, if they can afford to, because of course it's income tested, is a reasonable request to make of Albertans.
Mr. Speaker, the imposition of more money on seniors is harsh, but the minister still hasn't answered the question of why impose a harsher test, a test that will require seniors to come probably from rural communities into either Edmonton or Calgary to go into a hospital to get labs to do the testing, a new test that's much harsher and may well force these seniors to not even use oxygen at their peril. Why do that?
Well, Mr. Speaker, if the Honourable Leader of the Liberal Party is suggesting that people on home oxygen should not be medically assessed and regularly medically assessed to ensure they're getting the right mix of oxygen supply, then that is something that I don't support. Those assessments are important to be done so that the people are getting the important levels of oxygen that they should. And remember that many of those home ventilators, which will now be part of the AIDS to Daily Living program, were not available before except for polio patients.
Mr. Speaker, it would appear to me that the Honourable Minister doesn't know that this test is coming, or she's just evading the issue. The issue here is you're imposing the harshness of costs on seniors. That's a given. They all know that. But you're now imposing a harsh test, a test that previously required a doctor, a nurse, and an internationally accepted test to determine whether oxygen was needed. You're casting that aside and forcing them to come into hospitals to go through some high-tech, expensive testing. Why do that, Madam Minister? Why? You've got enough already.
Mr. Speaker, why are we trying to update and make contemporary our AIDS to Daily Living program? Because regardless of how the member terms it, that's exactly what he's asking. We've enhanced our AIDS to Daily Living program, not just for oxygen therapies by 13 million, but for things like power wheelchairs, for things like diabetic aids, for things like low vision aids, which were never before covered by the program. I think the assessment that's done on a medically required basis is an extremely important one. I am not a physician, the leader of the Liberal Party is not a physician, and how we assess those needs are ones that I believe should be medically and health determined.
Calgary Foothills.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've spent this weekend, as many other MLAs I'm sure have, answering questions from senior citizens. In fact, this morning I met with a seniors group, and I was somewhat dismayed by the disgraceful representation of benefits to seniors that's been made within the media and the opposition parties. For clarification, Mr. Speaker, residents...
Westlock Sturgeon, you're not so useful.
I guess they don't want to hear the actual benefits, Mr. Speaker, but my constituents would like to hear the benefits. In particular, I'd like to ask the Minister of Health if she could clarify the benefits of drug and ambulance costs that will now be going to the residents of senior citizens nursing homes.
Good question.
Well, Mr. Speaker, although the opposition likes to only focus on some of the changes which they feel are negative, there have been, in fact, many enhancements to the benefit of seniors in this province, one of which is that nursing home residents will no longer have to pay Blue Cross premiums in order to receive their drugs and will not have to pay ambulance costs. Rather, those have been folded into the global budgets of nursing homes to the benefit of those in long-term care.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Further on the benefits to seniors, there's been a lot of talk about reductions, et cetera, which I think are quite dreadful when they play upon the hearts of the people that founded this province. I'd like to ask the minister, we've heard about the opposition saying cuts, but I'd like to ask the minister if she could identify in specific detail some of the programs that have been actually added to the AIDS to Daily Living budget.
Good question.
I gave a brief list in response to the Leader of the Opposition, but I guess the most important additions are the high technology aids that weren't covered before. Opposition members last year were very critical of the AIDS to Daily Living program because it did not cover diabetic AIDS, which it now does. We're critical that it did not cover home ventilators, which it not does. We're critical that it did not cover power wheelchairs, which it now does, and it does so under a program that we believe is fair and reasonable to Albertans. The other point I think that's important to raise, Mr. Speaker, is contrary to the comments by the Leader of the Opposition, these changes will not take effect until July the 1st, and will to give time for all Albertans involved in the programs to see them and to understand how they work before they're put in place.
Edmonton Mill Woods, followed by Edmonton Meadowlark.
Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Minister of Health today. The Grey Nuns Hospital in Mill Woods in my constituency has reached a point, after several years of less than adequate funding from this government, of laying off some 100 employees or reducing their staff hours. Of course, this will mean reduction in services that are already strained even further now in a community that is accepting a substantial amount of the city's new growth and development. So I'd like to ask the Minister, my constituents and I would like to know, how can this Minister plead financial poverty to health care and services at hospitals like the Grey Nuns at the same time as her government is wasting and squandering hundreds of millions of dollars on corporate welfare?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member must know something about the Grey Nuns Hospital that I do not, and that is what the response the board is giving to living within their budget. But with respect to the criticism of how we've been able to give an increase of 10% to the health budget, I would simply point out to the honourable member that other departments of government, like economic development, like tourism, like transportation and utilities, like research, telecommunications research and telecommunications, have all had to bear significant reductions in order that that increase could occur to health. And that's a very important statement of priority by this government and this minister.
It's a strange increase when they're laying off nurses. How about laying off some of these cabinet ministers? Mr. Speaker, supplementary question then to the minister. Supplementary question to the minister then. Given that Mill Woods is largely a community that's composed of young families with children, will this minister at least give an assurance today that the Grey Nuns Hospital will have the resources it needs to provide a full complement of pediatric services? Will she at least do that?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the decisions that have been entrusted to hospital boards in this province to manage within their resources is a very important responsibility. And while there may be adjustments to service in individual facilities, as a Department of Health, we are looking very carefully and consciously at ensuring that on a regional basis we are delivering the health care and access to health care that Albertans need. If the honourable member is arguing, contrary to what his party argued last Thursday night in estimates, that we should not base our funding system on the efficiency and the severity of illness within our hospitals, as we are doing under our acute care funding plan, but rather that we should be funding based on the number of employees within that hospital, I find some concern with his health model forecast, and so I would argue with a lot of Albertans.
Edmonton Meadowlark, followed by Redwater Andrew.
Mr. Speaker, over a year ago, Gordon and Lynn McDowell were ordered to leave their home in Black Diamond because it sits on top of an abandoned oil refinery site that is literally filled with toxic chemical wastes. We now see the ridiculous spectacle of two ministers, the Minister of the Environment and the Minister of Public Works, fighting over whose responsibility it isn't to settle this problem. The Minister of the Environment saying it's Public Works, and Public Works, of course, is dropping that hot potato and saying, no, 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 it's the responsibility of the Ministry of the Environment. My first question is to the Premier. Will the Premier please step in and resolve this petty bureaucratic dispute so that McDowell's case can be settled quickly and with some compassion for the nature of their predicament?
Mr. Speaker, the ministers involved are resolving it.
Both running away, though.
Yeah.
We want them going towards the problem.
It's been over a year, Mr. Speaker, and the question is, why hasn't it been resolved to this point? My next question is to the Minister of Consumer and Corporate Affairs. What protection is there for consumers in this province when people like the McDowells can be permitted to buy a piece of land that is literally filled with toxic wastes 3 years after the Department of the Environment has stated very clearly, or has determined very clearly, that that site is a toxic site?
Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure what area of jurisdiction this province would have to answer the question the honourable member indicates. I understand that the Ministers of Environment and Public Works are working on this issue. If we can help in any way, we'd be glad to, but I'm not familiar with any legislation that would give us that authority.
Redwater Andrew, followed by Calgary Forest Lawn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question today, Mr. Speaker, is to the Minister of Health. And given that seniors programs are an issue this last while, Mr. Speaker, and in my constituency, Mr. Speaker, many seniors live in their own homes, and I know home care is a very important program to them, and I've had concerns expressed to me in the past few days in regards to this program. My question to the Minister, Mr. Speaker, are you only adding home care to the under 65, or do all seniors get the expanded benefits of home care?
Speaker, I'm glad to provide the clarification that our home care program will be enhanced by $10 million for seniors who are on the program.
Mr. Speaker, supplementary to the Minister and on the $10 million. Mr. Speaker, is that $10 million only to help existing seniors clients on home care?
Mr. Speaker, no, it's not just for the existing client load. In fact, it's for an expansion, part of which will be to enhance the single point of entry program, which we've discussed significantly in this House, to ensure that seniors get the most appropriate care that can be provided under home care.
Calgary Forest Lawn.
Mr. Speaker, over the past few years, this government has wasted over $1.3 billion worth of taxpayers' money on risky financial ventures, and they haven't learned their lesson, Mr. Speaker. Just recently, the Minister of Agriculture agreed to provide West Can Malting with a loan of $9 million to finance the construction of a malting plant near Alex. Now, given that there's not enough quality malting, Alex. My wife is named Alex, so I thought. Alex. Anyway, Mr. Speaker, there's not enough high-quality malting barley, nor are there the markets to support this plant and an existing malting plant in Calgary. My question to the Minister of Agriculture is, how does the Minister justify risking $9 million on a project that would otherwise not be economically viable?
Mr. Speaker, the capability of producing malting barley has hardly been tapped yet in this province. We had a good joint venture between a company that is significantly involved in the production of malt and a local Alberta firm. They dealt with the agribusiness arm of the Ag Development Corporation, and I think we have a very positive project going in a community in rural Alberta that is certainly looking forward to it.
Well, it's certainly going to cost, there's a potential here to cost 100 jobs at least in the city of Calgary, Mr. Speaker. And in addition to this government support of $9 million for the project, they're also going to have to provide the town of Alex with a grant to help its water treatment facilities. How much money is the minister prepared to throw at this project?
Mr. Speaker, my latest information with respect to Canada Malt in Calgary is it is expanding its operation, and I'm very pleased that they are. I might point out that assisting communities with developing infrastructure has been an ongoing responsibility accepted by this government, and it is certainly one way that we can enhance the growth in rural Alberta.
Edmonton Avonmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Attorney General. A recent report by the federal government Centre for Justice Statistics indicates that Alberta has a much higher rate of incarceration of women than any other province. There's widespread speculation to why this is the case, including the suggestion that women would rather go to jail than work off her fine, when in fact the reason may be that she cannot find child care for her children. My question to the Attorney General, given the serious questions raised by this report, will the Attorney General commit to reviewing, in consultation with organizations such as the Elizabeth Fry Society, why the rate of incarceration of Alberta women is so high?
Mr. Speaker, it would indeed be agreeable with me to have such consultations, but the Attorney General brings forward evidence of the investigating officer in a particular case. If there are circumstances, there are fine option programs and that are available. Unfortunately, my colleague, the Solicitor General, is responsible for the fine options and may want to supplement that. Also, when you compare in these statistics one jurisdiction to another jurisdiction, it's unfair because the statistic gathering mechanism is not the same. We've been working with the Canadian Justice Institute to try and clarify that, and in fact I've been dialoguing with them since I was the Solicitor General in the Assembly, and we haven't made a great deal of progress.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My second question is to the Minister responsible for women. Research has indicated time and time again that the root causes of women's involvement in crime are the economic and social disadvantages to which they have fallen victim, such as poverty, abusive and dysfunctional families, and a lack of education. Mr. Speaker, given that the judicial system remedies do little to address the realities that brought these women into conflict with the law, will a minister now commit to determining and establishing creative alternatives to the presently overused and costly jail systems, alternatives which will help women build healthy, protective lives for themselves and their children?
Mr. Speaker, I think that the number of solutions is much broader than that. For example, our Stepping Stones program, which encourages both young girls and young boys to look at a wide array of careers that they may take, all of which are being presented to them by volunteer role models in non-traditional jobs. That's one example. I might point out to another action plan initiative, this one brought forward by the Solicitor General this year, and that is his support for Native women elders to attend in the jails and to consult with women in the jails who are Native and persuading perhaps more and more to deal with their whatever obstacles they find in their way, using and drawing upon the resources of the Native culture. My colleague, the Solicitor General, may wish to add to my comments.
No. Calgary Buffalo.
Mr. Speaker, to the Minister of Career Development and Employment. Mr. Speaker, despite the government's crowing about how well Albertans are doing economically, layoffs and plant closures are costing thousands of jobs in the oil industry and hospitals and magnesium and packing plants throughout the province. Albertans such as the 500 employees of Canada Packers who have been laid off in Calgary and Lethbridge recently are not amused when the Premier crows about how well his friends are doing, and they are desperately in need of retraining assistance. And I'm wondering whether the Minister of Career Development and Employment is prepared to advise, in light of the fact that skills development spending has been reduced by $20 million in this year's budget, what he intends to do to meet the desperate need for retraining of the Canada Packers workers and other thousands of those who have lost their jobs.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it certainly is a very important question, and I'm pleased to try and respond to the member for Calgary Buffalo. Yes, that's why we have a Department of Career Development and Employment, Mr. Speaker, to assist as a safety net with people such as in need in this case, and there'll always be layoffs and mergers. But through our department, we work very closely with the employer and the federal government as well in interagency committees. We're providing assistance in long-term development, training skills, resume writing, and other areas that are needed. I might say there is no reduction whatsoever in the funding and assistance that we'll be providing to employees such as those in Canada Packers.
Well, that's great. $20 million cut, no reduction of assistance. Well, Mr. Speaker, in light of the fact that the government has been spending millions of dollars in grants to Cargill and other companies destabilizing the meatpacking industry, I'm wondering whether the minister is prepared to commit that he will beef up, and I really mean beef up, the expenditures of his department to the extent that may be necessary to fully fund the retraining efforts that are necessary for these thousands of jobs that are being lost.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I find that very interesting because we have just gone through the department's estimates. Where was the honourable member then when he had an opportunity to make any representation? But I also want to, Mr. Speaker, indicate that's the overall development policy of this government that you've heard many times from honourable members and the Premier as well, that we're able to absorb and integrate the many jobs through the diversification projects that are taking place within this province. Let's wait and look at the economic position overall and the employment stats as they are. Still amongst the best in Canada. Compare.
Red Deer North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the opposition continues to mislead and frighten our seniors, we need to continue to press for clarification of our programs. I'd like to ask the Minister of Health, under the former guidelines for the AIDS to Daily Living program, individuals up to 64 years of age had to contribute $1,000, up to $1,000 a year, while individuals 65 and over had to contribute nothing to benefits of that program. And I'd like to know if there's been any changes on those two specifics.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I think it's important to put on the record that under the existing program, not only would the 64-year-old have to pay up to $1,000 in cost sharing, they would also have to pay a deductible on the program, while the 65-year-old would be paying nothing for the same benefits. Under the changes we've made, the deductible has been removed, and all Albertans will be paying cost sharing the $500 per family, except those Albertans on low income who will be protected under the plan.
Mr. Speaker, one of our home care providers in Red Deer recently told me that seniors in the homes which she goes to, seniors who come from other provinces, talk in very warm, endearing terms about the programs we have here in Alberta as opposed to other provinces. And I'd like to ask the minister, in order to help these home care providers who answer the bulk of the questions that are given to them, are there going to be any groups of seniors who are going to be exempt from paying towards these benefits?
Well, yes, Mr. Speaker, in addition to the income test with respect to how a family can afford the cost sharing up to $500, there will be an exemption for cost sharing for Albertans receiving the Alberta Assured Income Plan, the widow's pension, supports for independence, or the assured income for the severely handicapped program. So all of those in those categories will not pay any co-insurance.
Edmonton Jasper, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Minister of the Environment, acreage owners in the Okotoks area share groundwater with the Foothills Regional Landfill. Last summer, a convoy of trucks came and dumped the entire contents of the old Inglewood refinery, reeking of oil and gas, toxic metals, some 40,000 tons containing as much as 125,000 parts per million lead. During the appeal board hearing, local residents were told that the refinery was moved to Calgary, from Calgary to their local residential landfill because Alberta Environment issued a series of approvals to make it happen. My question for the minister is, what steps is the minister taking to prevent unscrupulous private operators of these residential landfills, such as Kedon, from underbidding proper industrial disposal sites against the wishes of local residents?
First of all, Mr. Speaker, we did not issue a series of permits to allow this particular incident to occur. We said that according to our evaluation of a report that was submitted to us that was undertaken by the Foothills Waste Management Authority, that this site could accept the kind of waste that was identified. And indeed, we presented our findings once again. We revisited that site, did another investigation, presented our findings to the Board of Health Appeal Board hearings held not so long ago that indicate that the material is not hazardous. It's special. and has to be treated as special waste, but it's not hazardous, and that's our opinion. That might not satisfy a lot of people, but that's our opinion, and it was based on all the proper protocols. Relative to the misuse of a waste management facility, Mr. Speaker, if any operator is found to violate the rules, then that operator will be charged and prosecuted, and if found guilty, will pay a fine.
Well, Mr. Speaker, oil, gas, grease, lead may be special to the minister, but it's hazardous in the minds of the people who drink that groundwater, and that's the point. The FAB board barely concluded its hearing when the residents learned that another 120 tons of gasoline-soaked soil came from a service station nearby. It's not an isolated incident. I don't think it's unique to this particular landfill. What steps is the minister taking to reform a system in which Alberta Environment secretly issues approvals? I don't care if you call them permits or what. Secretly issues approvals and won't share the information with the residents.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I mean, it's first of all, it's absolutely false, misleading. It's typical fear-mongering on the part of this honourable member, something that's so typical of this member, by the way. Mr. Speaker, quite simply, we have done an investigation of that waste. We consider it not to be hazardous, as hazardous waste defined under the Act. And there are numerous wastes, and he knows, he's read the Act, the Hazardous Chemicals Act, and he knows which chemicals are defined as hazardous under the Act. He can read the report. I told him to read the report. The report's not hazardous. All he needs to do is to pick it up and read it. He won't do that. Or if he reads it, he obviously can't understand it. I've said before, there are some people who might not want to accept the findings of the report. But the report was done using the best protocols available, recognized protocols. Mr. Speaker, I can only repeat again, if anyone violates our environmental laws, those people will be punished to the fullest extent of the law. And indeed, new environmental legislation that is proposed would have those laws strengthened even more.
Edmonton Whiteman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Solicitor General has recently made public statements which completely ignore the Charter Rights Freedom of Association Clause. The Minister of Multiculturalism has gone on record as stating that he would not vote yes to keep the Charter if the question yes or no, should we have the Charter, were put to a test. Let me remind the Minister that the Charter of Rights is not a policy giving Cabinet Ministers a right to charter government aircraft for family and friends, but a document that sets out fundamental rights and freedoms. My question to the Minister responsible for multiculturalism: can the Minister explain how he can achieve a multiculturalism policy that ensures equality for all Albertans when he is not even prepared to uphold the basic Charter of Rights?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the member from Edmonton Whitemud is, as usual, dead wrong. Absolutely, completely, and utterly dead wrong. Mr. Speaker, it's the aim of this government, this minister, and our multicultural policy to do exactly what the member describes, to provide equality of opportunity for all Albertans. That's our goal. That's our objective. That's what we're doing, Mr. Speaker.
That's not what he said. That's not the statements being made, Mr. Speaker. My second question to the Deputy Premier: will the Deputy Premier make a statement indicating to this Assembly where his government stands on the guarantees contained in the Charter of Rights?
We were there. Very unusual question. I
think we can change the Act unilaterally, Larry?
I'll just wait till the leader of the Liberal Party cools down a little and indicate to the honourable member for Edmonton Whitemud, just for his record, honourable leader of the Liberal Party keeps chattering away. It's interesting that he's not interested in having me answer the question that his member of his own caucus has posed. That's unusual, but perhaps not. This is a government, Mr. Speaker, which introduced the Alberta Bill of Rights as its first a piece of legislation upon coming into office after the election of 1971. This government supported the introduction of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This government obeys the law of the land, and the Charter is part of the supreme law of this land, which is the Constitution of Canada. I hope that's clear.
Edmonton Highlands. Edmonton Highlands.
Mr. Speaker, prior to the official opposition New Democrats receiving a copy of the secret document that's been circulating in Cabinet for the last few months with respect to the future of programs for seniors, what in fact the government's been doing is implementing the so-called discussion points bit by bit by bit, Mr. Speaker. I noticed earlier today, Mr. Speaker, the Associate Minister of Family and Social Services refused to commit himself to not implementing some of the other, quote, discussion points in this paper. My question to the minister is this: if he's so sure that his government isn't going to fulfill this hidden agenda, why won't he commit right now to stopping progress on all of these reports?
Mr. Speaker, I continue to take exception with the words hidden document and hidden agenda. There is no such thing. And I would like to point out to the member that as a result of the kind of discussions that she's referring to, we injected $75.4 million additional funds into the seniors programs this year.
No commitment. No commitment.
Mr. Speaker, what the minister fails to add is that his government also put its hand in the pocket of senior citizens and is plucking out hundreds of dollars at a time, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask the minister one more time, with respect to the property tax rebate program, why won't the minister commit to continuing this program, which is so vital to keeping senior citizens in their own homes and preventing them from going into institutions? Why won't he commit to that, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, I don't think that there has ever been a time when this government has indicated that it would do otherwise, that it would not keep the program going. I don't know where this member is coming from.
Westlock Sturgeon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question to the Minister of Agriculture is back again to Westcan. In view of the fact, Mr. Speaker, that last June and July, in spite of warnings from me and this legislature, and also warnings from the Chambers of Commerce in Edmonton and Calgary, the minister did go ahead to Westcan Malty to make a $5 million loan, payable only, Mr. Speaker, if they make a profit. $4 million in shares. They've also acquired since then a $700,000 federal grant, and now they want $1.4 million as a help to put in a water system. Now, Mr. Speaker, with that kind of money at risk, what guarantees, personal or through associated companies, has the minister gone ahead and obtained in order to try to get some backup or guarantee for this fabulous amount of money he's loaned to an untried company and new group of people?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member obviously has more confidence in some of his infrastructure support figures than I have at this point in time. We're still assessing the infrastructure costs that the village of Alex will be needing and working on ways of dealing with that problem with the village of Alex. The situation with respect to Westcan has not changed in any way, shape, or form from the last time it was discussed in this House.
Mr. Speaker, that's what we're trying to get at. He's loaned a group that got into trouble, Mr. Speaker, in Saskatchewan. Is he aware that this part and members of this same group cost the Saskatchewan government millions of dollars in a failed malting plant there? Does he sleep at the switch again?
Mr. Speaker, the one thing I can share with the honourable member is that the Ag Development Corporation has a pretty healthy track record. They've applied all of the normal practices of business and banking to their involvement in this company, and I think their money is quite safe.
Standing Order 40 request, Minister of Energy.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to seek unanimous consent of this Assembly in order to deal with the following motion, that the Legislative Assembly of Alberta recognize and extend its heartiest congratulations to the Calgary North Stars for winning the National Midget Hockey Championships in Calgary, April 28th. Mr. Speaker, in keeping with the fine tradition of this Assembly to acknowledge and recognize individuals or groups that have attained outstanding achievements in their field, Mr. Speaker, I would ask that members support this motion. The Calgary North Stars on Sunday, which represent Northeast Calgary, Mr. Speaker, won the Air Canada Cup, which is symbolic of the national championship for midget AAA hockey. Mr. Speaker, they beat teams from across Canada, and I had the honor of officiating at the opening ceremonies, and I can confirm to the Assembly that the Calgary North Stars are a group of fine young Albertans who set an excellent example of hard work, dedication, and teamwork, and shows that it all leads to excellence. So therefore, Mr. Speaker, I'd ask that all members support this motion.
Understanding Order 40, the request for unanimous consent. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Motion carries. Speaking to the main motion again, any additional comments?
No, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
I'd like to speak on behalf of the New Democratic Caucus, Mr. Speaker. We support this motion, and we're really pleased with the achievement of this team.
Here. Additional comments? Member for Calgary Buffalo.
Well, on behalf of the Liberal caucus, I might simply state that it's about time we got a championship, Mr. Speaker.
Before I put the question on, as a director of the Calgary Canucks, I'm pleased to announce that the coach of this team is now going to be the coach of the Calgary Canucks in the Alberta Junior Hockey League next year. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Motion carries. Let it be shown unanimously. Orders of the day.